Alright, let me set the scene for you, darling. Humans haven't been around since the beginning of time. Obviously, the Earth is 5 billion years old, and humans only started to show up after the dinosaurs were wiped away 65 million years ago. So, when we did show up, boy oh boy did we make some history. But history hasn't always been kind to us, and it hasn't always been told to us. Whether it hasn't been told to us right then and there, or it's been told to us, but have you really told us? So I'm here to share what you thought was real. Greetings, my dear people, and welcome to the second video of the Lack to Back. As I said in the intro, I'm going to be exposing some myths. Well, this is more so the simplified version than that whole prophecy proclamation that I said at the beginning, but I'm extra. What do you expect? Some of these might be self-explanatory, and there is one half-truth, but I don't think you guys are interested in my surprise. But we're just gonna go ahead and get into it, shall we? Let's start off with an easy one, love. Have you heard of Patriots or the American Revolutionary War? You should. It's only been drilled into your head a couple thousand times, but for people who don't know, let me explain. Patriots were the name given to soldiers that fought in the American Revolutionary War in the late 1780s into the 1790s, like in between the 1780s and 1790s, basically. But anyway, they strongly believed in the Declaration of Independence because they expressed ideas that they strongly believed in because they just hated how Britain was treating them. They believed in this monarchy, that one person's at the top, and whatever happens, you gotta follow them because they're just here to stay. They weren't jiggy with it. So they fought for America, basically. But you guys should also know, or have known, that black men also fought in this war. Enslaved black men, let me keep it clear. So explain to me why they continue to insist that black men were also patriots. Now, remember what I said about who patriots are? It's redundant. It ain't correlating. Like, math ain't adding up. So this is definitely a myth, because why in the heck will black men be fighting for America? A country that has bound them in chains, forced them to work in the fields, torn them away from their family, etc., 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 and more etceteras. Just, how does that work? They weren't fighting for America, they was fighting for their freedom. Let's keep it clear. And you know what? It didn't even work. They wouldn't get their freedom technically until 1895 with Juneteenth, because the Emancipation Proclamation. If you have seen my Black History video from last year with the history facts, you would know that it's a lie. But anyway, that's just that. Culture, it keeps us different. Food, music, clothes, traditions, even though some of them are bad, it keeps us different, because if we didn't have it, then we might as well all be aliens. Just all looking the same, acting the same, talking the same. It ain't interesting. And the latest or slightest. So, even if you were subjected to inhumane tactics and torture, tell yourself, do you really think that you or your great-great-great-grandparents, and even put it back to the 7th or 8th great-grandparents, great-aunties, and basically ancestors probably would have forgotten? Some of them probably would have, but a lot of them kept it alive. So to insist that all black people just forgot about their African roots the minute they came in, think again, roots wouldn't exist. If that's the case, this man got beat multiple times because he kept saying Kunta Kinte instead of saying that his name was Toby. That's called keeping your culture alive, and then he passed it on to his daughter. You see what I'm trying to say? They kept it alive. Some of them kept it alive. Some of them were resistant, like, heck no, I'm gonna teach my kids the way of the African warrior, teach them my language, and teach them how things were before we came here to America. Come on, especially for my seniors and my 8th graders. Or was it 7th grade? Either of those grades. You gotta know what the 13th Amendment is. I mean, you gotta know in order to take the Constitution test. The 13th Amendment to me is a load of hogwash. It is. Wanna know why? Because even though it abolished slavery and involuntary servitude, there's this little section, you gotta read the fine print, that basically states unless it's a criminal. They committed a crime, criminal offense. And if that's the case, they can go right back into the fields. Meaning that black men could just be sitting at their homes, eating food and stuff, and then someone could come bursting through the door and claim they did this, that, and the third, and then they will be right back in the fields, but this time with a prison uniform. They're not slaves, they're just criminals, paying their due to society, American society. It's called The Loophole. Don't believe me? Watch this documentary and it'll tell you all. Alright, and for my last one is, you guessed it, my half-truth, and that's that slaves were able to read to an extent. And I say to an extent is because in between 1619 to 1820, they did not give a flying heck, because they didn't think it was that big of a deal. They didn't think they were threatened if slaves learned how to read. But when the slave rebellions was starting to be on the rise, a couple of them, like the masters and stuff and the overseers, all of them, they basically did some digging and found out that a lot of these slave rebellions, their leaders were reading the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and all these important documents, that they figured that they were using those to counterattack them. And that's when they were like, oh heck no, they're getting way too educated. We gotta buckle down on them, whoop them, beat them to death, kill them, burn them, like do whatever you can, just don't make them want to read. So, and if you think about it, this is pretty accurate, because in between those years, that's when, yeah, not Turner's Rebellion, yeah, that was like in between that time period. I think it was like, it was in the 1800s, like 1801, like close in that time period. That big, which one, I forgot the name. All I know is that most of those uprisings did happen in between those times, especially when some slaves weren't having it and were trying to get their freedom as quickly as possible. It makes sense either way, if you really think about it. And so this video has come to an end, and I hope it was a real eye-opener to realize that knowledge really is power, until if you know your stuff, if you know the right, raw, true information in history. Because if you don't, then yeah, they can definitely use that against you. Sorry, but it's true. But I will see you guys in the next one, aka the third day. But I will also be sitting here drinking my water. Oh yeah, you thought this was coffee? Think again. Bye guys.